is possible that the ancient astronauts taught the Egyptians that mummification was a way of preserving their genetic information in the DNA.
In the beginning it was a mess, but when we managed to get this away, to clean out the samples, we got really pure DNA to manage to tell something about him and especially about his ancestry.
Is it possible that the ancient Egyptians believed mummification wasn't just about preserving the body, but preserving the code of life itself? Could it be that the secrets of DNA, of divine creation, were hidden beneath the golden wrappings of their kings? For centuries, the sands of Egypt have concealed stories too strange to be fiction. But recent scientific breakthroughs have uncovered a truth that changes how we see one of the most iconic figures of the ancient world.
There's something very obvious missing because there's no heart. The absence of the heart might suggest that Tutankhamun needed immediately attention somewhere far from where the top-class embalmers were.
The boy king, Tutankhamun. His name means the living image of Amun, but his life was haunted by death. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications for more astonishing discoveries and hidden truths. A lost king remembered. When people think of ancient Egypt, one name stands above the rest. Not Ramses the Great, not Khufu, the builder of pyramids, but the child who ruled the kingdom before he was even a man. Tutankhamun ascended the throne at just 9 years old and died before he turned 20. He left behind no monuments of conquest, no temples of glory, only a tomb, forgotten beneath the desert, and a mystery that would outlive empires. For more than 3,000 years, his name was lost, buried under rubble, silence, and time itself, until one man refused to stop searching. The discovery that shook the world. The year was 1922. The Valley of the Kings was thought to be exhausted, looted, explored, and empty. But British archaeologist Howard Carter, funded by Lord Carnarvon, was convinced one more tomb lay hidden in the dust. After years of digging under the relentless Egyptian sun, the discovery came: a staircase buried beneath rubble. Carter brushed away the sand to reveal a sealed doorway marked with royal symbols: Tutankhamun. When Carter made a small hole in the door and raised his candle to peer inside, his assistant whispered, "Do you see anything?" Carter replied, trembling, "Yes, wonderful things." What he saw changed history. Walls glimmering with gold, shrines stacked like puzzle boxes, chariots, statues, and the serene golden mask that would become the face of ancient Egypt itself. The world watched in awe. A forgotten boy had returned from eternity. But the curse and the legend. Awe quickly turned to fear. Only months after the tomb was opened, Lord Carnarvon died unexpectedly. Newspapers screamed of a pharaoh's curse. Those who entered Tutankhamun's tomb began to fall ill, fueling stories that the boy king was exacting revenge from beyond the grave. Whether curse or coincidence, Tutankhamun's story became legend, the tale of a fragile king whose death echoed through time. But beneath the golden mask lay a far darker secret that science would not uncover until nearly a century later.
The fall of a dynasty. Tutankhamun's death without heirs marked more than the end of a life. It marked the extinction of a bloodline. His wife, Amun, his half-sister, bore 2 stillborn daughters, both buried beside their father. With no surviving children, the once mighty Amarna dynasty crumbled. The same royal isolation that claimed Tutankhamun's health would consume his lineage, leaving behind only silence and stone. His golden mask, once a symbol of immortality, became instead a monument to mortality, a reminder that even gods could fall prey to their own design. Beyond the mask, the human king. Today, Tutankhamun is remembered not for what he ruled, but for what he revealed. Through him, we see the cost of divine obsession, the fragility of kings, and the humanity buried beneath gold. His DNA told a story that hieroglyphics never could, a story written not on temple walls, but in the code of life itself. It exposed a civilization that reached for eternity, and in doing so, sealed its own downfall in the blood of its kings. Science did what tomb raiders, priests, and pharaohs never could. It listened to the voice inside the mummy, the whisper carried through time. I was not a god. I was a son. I was a man. Tutankhamun's life and death remind us that power cannot shield the body, and gold cannot protect the soul. And perhaps that's the real secret of the boy who slept in gold. In the end, Tutankhamun's tomb was more than a treasure chest. It was a time capsule. Within those sealed walls lay not just jewels, but genes, not just statues, but stories. And with every breakthrough, the line between myth and science blurs a little more. Perhaps the ancient Egyptians were right all along. Perhaps mummification was not only a bridge to the afterlife, but a preservation of divine memory encoded in flesh, waiting millennia to speak again. The sands have shifted. The gods have fallen silent. But through the science of DNA, the boy king finally speaks. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and watch our next documentary, because history's greatest secrets are only just beginning to awaken. Implications of the discovery. When scientists unraveled the DNA of Egypt's most famous pharaoh, Tutankhamun, they didn't just unlock the story of a boy king. They exposed a web of ancient secrets buried beneath 3,000 years of royal deception. The results were more than historical trivia. They were a revelation that shattered myths, challenged the image of divine perfection, and forced the world to confront the dark cost of ancient power. For centuries, Tutankhamun was the golden icon of Egypt, the radiant child king whose tomb dazzled the world with unimaginable wealth. But DNA analysis revealed a very different story. Behind the golden mask was not a god, but a frail, suffering teenager, crippled, diseased, and genetically damaged. His bloodline, once believed to be divinely chosen, was instead plagued by the consequences of generations of inbreeding within the royal family. The revelation that Tutankhamun was the product of incest between siblings, a common but devastating practice among the pharaohs to preserve divine purity, has transformed how we view the entire lineage of ancient Egypt. It stripped away the illusion of immortality that surrounded the rulers of the Nile and exposed the genetic fragility of a dynasty that worshipped its own bloodline more than the gods themselves. The house of Akhenaten, from which Tut descended, wasn't merely eccentric in religion, it was imploding from within, weakened by genetic disorders that silently devoured its future.
The silent secrets of the mummy. Carter's team, in their eagerness, caused unintentional damage to the fragile mummy. The body was covered in hardened resin, broken in several places, and difficult to study. Among the fractures was one on the skull, leading to one of the most enduring theories in archaeology. Was King Tut murdered? The idea of royal intrigue fascinated the world. Had the boy king been struck down in a palace conspiracy? Was his death the result of political betrayal during Egypt's most unstable era? For decades, the murder theory reigned supreme until science began to speak louder than rumor. Science peels back the wrappings. In the early 2000s, CT scans gave researchers a new window into Tutankhamun's remains. The results shattered old theories. The head injury, not fatal, likely caused after death, perhaps during the embalming process. A new possibility emerged, a tragic chariot accident. His broken ribs and fractured leg seemed to fit the story of a young ruler thrown from his chariot. But once again, deeper analysis dismissed that too. The injuries weren't from an accident, they happened after his death. So, if not murder, and not misfortune, what truly killed the boy king? The answer was hidden in his blood. The genetic truth emerges. In 2010, Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities launched an unprecedented scientific mission to extract and sequence DNA from Egypt's royal mummies, including Tutankhamun himself. This was no easy feat. After 3 millennia, DNA deteriorates. The desert's heat, humidity, and handling had all but erased genetic traces. But under sterile conditions, scientists managed to recover fragments, enough to reveal a chilling secret buried for 3,000 years. Tutankhamun was not assassinated. He was born broken. The DNA revealed that his father was Pharaoh Akhenaten, the heretic king who defied Egypt's gods by worshipping one sun deity, Aten. And Tutankhamun's mother? Not Nefertiti, but Akhenaten's own sister. Brother and sister, father and daughter. Their union produced a child doomed by his own divine bloodline. The curse in the bloodline. For centuries, Egypt's royal families practiced inbreeding to preserve the divine bloodline, believing themselves to be living gods. But this obsession with purity came at a price. DNA testing confirmed Tutankhamun suffered from severe genetic disorders, a club foot, brittle bones, spinal deformities, and a weakened immune system. He likely needed a cane to walk. Dozens were found in his tomb, not as symbols of power, but of pain. He was further weakened by repeated infections and malaria, a disease that ravaged his frail body. By 19, his body simply failed. The golden god of Egypt had been, in truth, a fragile boy, trapped in the legacy of his ancestors' divine ambitions.
The DNA findings also upended the romanticized image of Tut's death. For decades, theories of assassination, curses, and conspiracies filled books and documentaries. But the truth was more tragic and more human. Genetic evidence pointed to malaria infections and a crippling bone disorder, worsened by inbreeding, which likely led to his death at around 19. He wasn't murdered by political rivals. He was undone by his own royal heritage. The God King died not from betrayal, but from biology. Yet, the implications of this go far beyond one pharaoh. Tutankhamun's DNA has become a time capsule, revealing the hidden vulnerabilities of a civilization that seemed indestructible. It shows how power, when hoarded and sanctified, can lead to self-destruction. The royal obsession with purity turned divine blood into a genetic curse. The story of Tut is not just ancient history. It's a warning written in the very code of life. It also forces modern Egyptology to reconsider what we mean by divinity. The pharaohs declared themselves living gods, intermediaries between heaven and earth. But now we see that their humanity, their weaknesses, diseases, and mortality was as real as ours. The DNA doesn't diminish their grandeur, it redefines it. Tutankhamun's true legacy is not in gold, but in the revelation that even those who called themselves gods could not escape the laws of nature. Culturally, the findings reframe how we interpret the entire 18th dynasty, a period marked by religious upheaval, artistic revolution, and sudden collapse. If the royal family's physical frailty mirrored the kingdom's instability, then Tut's body becomes a metaphor for Egypt itself. Glorious on the outside, fractured within. His death didn't just end a life, it symbolized the death of an era, a civilization poisoned by its own divine isolation. The discovery also had profound effects on the scientific world. It proved that modern genetics could resurrect lost histories, confirming relationships, uncovering diseases, and even challenging the accuracy of centuries-old assumptions. DNA became a new Rosetta Stone, not for translating language, but for translating bloodlines, identities, and truths hidden in bone and dust. Spiritually, it invites reflection. The Egyptians believed in Ma'at, balance, truth, and divine order. Yet Tut's life embodied imbalance and hidden decay. His suffering and premature death remind us that no amount of gold or ritual could shield a soul from the weight of its own corruption. The gods did not curse Tutankhamun, humanity did, through pride, secrecy, and the worship of power over wisdom. In the end, the DNA revelations about King Tut are more than a scientific achievement. They are a mirror, a reminder that even the most powerful civilizations fall when they turn inward, blind to the weaknesses festering within. The young pharaoh's bones whisper across millennia that power without humility breeds ruin, that truth, no matter how long it sleeps, will rise again, and that even in death, the human story cannot be silenced by gold. The chilling truth about King Tut's death is not just about how he died. It's about what his death reveals. The fragility of empires, the folly of gods, and the eternal struggle between human pride and the inescapable truth written in our DNA.